7 through 10. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotra Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotra Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Mahārāja Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today we're reading from 8th Canto, chapter 4, text 7 through 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sa Vai Purvam Abhut Raja Pandyo Dvida Sattama Indradyumna Iti Kyato Vishnu Vrata Parayanaha Savai Purvam Abhut Savai Purvam Abhut Raja Pandya Dravita Sattamaha Indradyumna Ito Kyato Vishnu Vrata Parayanaha Savai Purvam Abhut Raja Pandyo Dravida Sattamaha Indradyumna Iti Kyato Vishnu Vrata Parayanaha Savai Purvam Abhut Raja Pandyo Dravida Sattamaha Indradyumna Iti Kyato Vishnu Vrata Parayana Savai Purvam Abhut Raja Pandyo Dravida Sattamaha Indradyumna Iti Kyato Vishnu Vrata Parayana Kyato Anyone else here in the temple room? Anyone online?
Savai Purvam Abhudraja Vandyo Dravida Satamaha Indradyumna iti kyato Vishnu Vrata Parayanaha
Savai Purvam Adbhut Raja Pandyo Dravido Sattama Indradyumna iti khato Vishnu Vrata Parayana.
Sa, this elephant, Gajendra, Vai, indeed, Purvam, formerly, Abhut, was, Raja, a king, Pandyaha, of the country known as Pandya, Dravida Sattamaha, the best of those born in Dravida Desh, South India, Indradyumna, by the name Mahārāja Indradyumna, iti, thus, kyataha, celebrated, Vishnu Vrata Parayanaha, was a first-class Vaishnava, always engaged in the service of the Lord. Translation. This Gajendra had formerly been a Vaishnava and the king of the country known as Pandya, which is the province of Dravida, South India. In his previous life, he was known as Indradyumna Mahārāja. This is text 7. Now text number 8. Indradyumna Mahārāja retired from family life and went to the Malaya hills, where he had a small cottage for his ashram. He wore matted locks on his head and always engaged in austerities. Once, while observing a vow of silence, he was fully engaged in the worship of the Lord and absorbed in the ecstasy of love of Godhead. Text number 9. While Indradyumna Mahārāja was engaged in ecstatic meditation, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the great sage Agastya Muni arrived there, surrounded by his disciples. When the Muni saw that Mahārāja Indradyumna, who was sitting in a secluded place, remained silent and did not follow the etiquette of offering him a reception, he was very angry. Text number 10. This is where we have the purport. Translation. Agastya Muni then spoke this curse against the king. This king Indradyumna is not at all gentle. Being low and uneducated, he has insulted a Brahmana. May he therefore enter the region of darkness and receive the dual, dumb body of an elephant. Purport. An elephant is very strong. It has a very big body, and it can work very hard and eat a large quantity of food. But its intelligence is not at all commensurate with its size and strength. Thus, in spite of so much bodily strength, the elephant works as a menial servant for a human being. Agastya Muni thought it wise to curse the king to become an elephant because the powerful king did not receive Agastya Muni as one is obliged to receive a Brahmana. Yet, although Agastya Muni cursed Mahārāja Indradyumna to become an elephant, the curse was indirectly a benediction. For by undergoing one life as an elephant, Indradyumna Mahārāja ended the reactions for all sins of his previous life. Immediately after the expiry of the elephant's life, he was promoted to Vaikuṇṭhaloka to become a personal associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nārāyaṇa, in a body exactly like that of the Lord. This is called sārūpya-mukti. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvichesha Shunyavari Pashyate Desha Tarine. So we continue our reading of daily Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the beginning of the 4th chapter in the 8th canto. And we see here that Indradyumna Mahārāja was engaged in ecstatic meditation. He was worshipping the Lord in this way. And the great sage Agastya Muni came in the assembly of his servants, his disciples, and he saw Mahārāja Indradyumna. And obviously he was expecting that he would be offered a sitting place and maybe water, maybe prasadam. But the Indradyumna, he didn't do that. He remained silent. And therefore it is translated that he did not follow the etiquette, the Vaishnava etiquette. We all know that the Vaishnava etiquette described by Rupa Goswami, that if you see someone who is more senior to you, then you have to offer service. Well, first of all, you offer respects, you offer obeisances, and then you want to offer your service. If there's anything needed to be done to serve that Vaishnava. And that's the greatest boon, because by serving Uttama-adhikari, you can make great advancement in spiritual life. And if you meet someone who is on a Madhyama-adhikari platform, you also offer obeisances with your body, and then you try to become friends with that person, if you see him as equal to yourself. But typically, Madhyama-adhikaris are very much engaged in preaching, so they also need help. And in this way, you can surely offer service as well. But those who are lower than you, those who are less senior than you, you also offer respects, you also offer obeisances, but in the mind. Because sometimes if you offer obeisances to someone who's lower, who's less senior than you, there's a tendency that they can become proud. And there's many examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam that teaches how pride is such a horrible thing on the path of bhakti. So therefore we need to maintain proper etiquette. And in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that by offering obeisances to the seniors, to your parents, and to the guru, to the deity, it's actually purifying you, so you can speak appropriately too. So by engaging your body in offering dandavats and offering obeisances, then you can realize the position of a Vaishnava, understand the qualification of a Vaishnava. I should not offend him, I should not even think ill of him. So therefore, by engaging this body in austerity, then it purifies, eventually it purifies your words, speaking and thinking, like that. So that's an understanding of a Vaishnava etiquette here. And further in the text 10, we see that Agastya Muni becomes mad. he calls Indradyumna, he calls him Duratma, degraded soul, Akrita, without any education. He calls him without any intelligence, you have no intelligence. And eventually he curses him to become an elephant. Stabdamati, possessing blunt intelligence. And we see that an elephant is a strong body. He's strong, has so many muscles, but not very intelligent. So therefore, an elephant is serving people, although so powerful and strong, but just a menial servant. And we see this word used here, shapam. It's translated as a curse. It appears in various places in Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, in the 1st canto, we see in the 18th chapter of the pastimes of Parikshit Maharaj, when he was cursed by a Brahmin boy, and he was simply hunting in the forest at some point. Once upon a time, he was hunting in the forest, and then he became extremely fatigued and thirsty. He stepped into this hermitage of a Shamika Rishi, who was there also in trance meditation. disregarding, he didn't even notice that Mahārāja Parikshit, the emperor of the world, came in. He didn't even see that. So also he did not offer him water, he did not offer him sitting place, and Mahārāja Parikshit became angry. But in this case, of course, we see that Mahārāja Parikshit, it's an intervention of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because earlier Mahārāja Parikshit was in the womb of his mother Uttara, and he was tolerating the fire of Brahmastra. So if he can tolerate that, then the simple, insignificant offense of a Brahmana he could also tolerate. So we can see that Krishna is, it's Krishna's intervention. Eventually, he was cursed to live 7 days by Shringi, the son of that Brahmana, who became angry with him for offending his father. He gave a lifeless snake. He put a lifeless snake on the neck of his father and left the place. He was also wondering whether this Brahmana really was meditating like that, or was he just ignored me. Like that, so he was cursed to live 7 days. There's another pastime we see with Chitraketu Mahārāja. Chitraketu Mahārāja had a very, you can say, very difficult life, harsha shoka, distress and happiness he was experiencing. He was experiencing ups and downs. He actually had 10 million wives, and he tried to beget children with every single wife, but it didn't work out. So eventually, long story short, he did get a son. So he was trying to get a son. And that son caused him great lamentation because he left his body prematurely. And so we see here in the 17th chapter, there's a very nice verse, verse 37, 6th canto, 1737. Mahārāja Chitraketu, he was traveling on this airplane, chanting the holy name of the Lord with the women of the Vidyadhara planet, the heavenly planets. And they all saw Lord Shiva and Sita Devi, Sita Mata, and she was sitting on the lap of Lord Shiva. And to Chitraketu, he was agitating, so he offended Lord Shiva. Surrounded by sages who didn't say anything. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, important detail. So Madhasati Madhasati cursed him to become an asura. And this is text 37. It says, the great devotee Chitraketu was so powerful that he was quite competent to curse Mother Parvati in retaliation. But instead of doing so, he very humbly accepted the curse and bowed his head before Lord Shiva and his wife. This is very much to be appreciated as the standard behavior of a Vaishnava. So we learn in this example that a Vaishnava, even though he has the tejas, the power to curse, retaliate the curse, he doesn't do so. His character is of a sadhu lakshanam. So he acts differently, he just tolerates it. Trinada pisa nichena, tarora pisa hishnana. So this is wonderful. Also Mahārāja Parikshit tolerated it as well. He did not retaliate the curse. So that's another point to the Vaishnava etiquette, how important it is on the path of bhakti. So the curses we receive, although they might be unfair, they can turn into benedictions. There's a famous Bengali phrase. It says that if a vulture curses a cow to die, the curse will not be effective. So sometimes the curses, they have no meaning behind them. For example, people might curse us just because of anger or madness. They can pray to God, or let my enemies and people I don't like, let them die, like that. And there's also an example in the Srimad Bhagavatam that illustrates this detail, this example. It's a pastime of Daksha cursing Lord Shiva. And it's a long story. There's so many things that we can learn from this pastime. But in a short matter, there was a great yagya, and Daksha, he became a progenitor of the population. And upon receiving that position, he became a little puffed up. So, therefore, he was expecting people to respect him. And at that time, during the yagya, he entered the arena, and he saw Lord Shiva, who's meditating and remembering Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. He didn't get up to offer his obeisances, so he thought him to be of ill behavior. So he also cursed him like that. And of course, if we look in their relationship, he's a son of Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma advised him to actually, he has a daughter, Sati Devi. He advised his daughter to marry Lord Shiva. So he did not like that, because he thought that Lord Shiva is always so dirty. He's always just associating with ignorant people, the ghosts and spirits. But of course we know why Lord Shiva does this, to give him the mercy, to give him a chance for spiritual life. But Daksha did not have that understanding. So therefore there's some kind of their relationship they were troubled in the beginning. And I want to read something from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So when he saw Lord Shiva not getting up before him, Daksha was offended. And he said, Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to act. He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter. And he did that in the presence of fire, yagya took place, the brahmanas. So his eyes, he said, he has eyes like a monkey's, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think that it's fit to welcome me with sweet words. And in the end, this curse, as the Bengali saying goes, was not befitting anyone. It actually turned out that Daksha, in the end, he lost his head. And that's humility and compassion of Lord Shiva upon Daksha, to give him a chance for redemption, to realize his mistake. Yeah, but eventually he also lost his daughter, Sati, who jumped into a fire, and she left her body because she did not feel comfortable to be related to such an offender as Daksha, who was dealing with the husband in such ill behavior. So in this way we learn that curses, they could turn out to be a benediction, but also they could have, of course there's a deeper meaning, and we can still have understanding and still have nice realizations from this and learn from this experience. But sometimes, as the saying goes, that the curse might not be effective if a vulture curses a cow to die. So, Lord Daksha, King Daksha, not Lord Daksha. King Daksha did more harm to himself by cursing Lord Shiva. And in this text we also see that to accept the body of an elephant or to accept the body of an animal is actually, it's a torture for the soul, because the consciousness is not expanded, it's more compressed, contracted, it's reduced, and it's actually a complete tamagun to be in consciousness, to be in the body of an animal. It's very difficult to bear. I don't know if anyone had an experience of taking a scan at MRI, if anyone had ever done that before. You're there for 30 minutes or longer, and you pretty much, you cannot move, you suffocated, what's that word, claustrophobic? It's not a pleasant experience. So that's a similar example of a living entity, a jiva, entering the body of an animal. It's very difficult mode of ignorance. And on the other hand, there's examples in the Krishna book, in the 10th canto, where curses could be turning into a benediction for someone. And for example, Nārāyaṇa Muni, he was cursing Manigriva and Nalakuvara, the great sons of Kuvera. They were bathing in this river, Mandakini river, in Kailash. They were worshippers of Lord Shiva, but at that time they lost their morals, and they were naked, drunk, intoxicated, playing, sporting with the women. And they were too intoxicated to notice that a great sage came in the assembly. And Bhagavad Gita explains why we feel intoxicated and why we feel like that, why we feel that besides ourselves there's not much to be seen. We become affected by the mode of passion. Krishna in the 3rd chapter says, Kama eshu koda eshu raja guna samudbhava mahashla mahapapma vidyanam hivarinam. This is the enemy of the conditioned souls, this kama, lust. In India, I don't remember who said that. I think maybe Shivaram Swami. I was listening to a class. It was funny. He said that in India and in America, there's difficulties in spiritual life for brahmacharis or devotees, and in the Western world, there's mahapapma. There's a great sin of kama that people experience, and it's difficult for them to practice spiritual life. But in India, it's also mahapapma, mahapap and ma. So the parents of the devotees, they often become, especially for brahmacharis, they might get in the way of their spiritual life, and they might have a different opinion. So in this pastime, we see that material opulence, they can take away mercy from you, and you can act in such a way that you disregard the presence of a exalted Vaishnava. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book how a poor man has a more advantageous position in terms of practicing bhakti. Because see, if a poor man experiences suffering and sees someone else suffering, then he can just he tries to help. He tries to mitigate that, and he tries to be helpful. Whereas a man who has not experienced suffering to a large degree, he's a bit careless in this way. And also, when it comes to associating with saintly people, it's easier for someone who is poor to invite a sadhu, invite a renounced person, a sannyasi, into his house than to someone who is in a wealthy position. Because he's just humble. He's humble. And he knows there might be benefit if I associate with such an exalted soul. One time Srila Prabhupada was in India and he was walking with his disciples. And it happened that they went on someone's property. And people noticed that, so they came out of their house and they said, "Oh, dear Sadhu, Hare Krishna," or "This is sannyasi." So they said something like, "Oh, you on our land, on our property, but you're going to purify this property. So we are so happy to see you. We're so happy to be with you. Please come." But if that happens in the Western world, of course, the guns, the dogs, the reaction would be completely different. So, yeah, this Manigriva and Nalakova were cursed by Narada Muni, again out of compassion. They become Yamala, Arjuna trees, the twin trees. And they remembered their past life, and they were born in the courtyard of Mother Yashoda. So then they met Krishna. After the pastime of churning the butter with Mother Yashoda, he came and delivered them. So they were favored by the mercy of Narada Muni. And another example is snake Vidyadhara, is later in the pastime of the Gopi Nila. Snake Vidyadhara, cowherd boys with Nanda Maharaj, they were going on a pilgrimage to Ambikavan. And it's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam how once upon a time they decided to worship Lord Shiva. Meaning that they don't do it every year, but they would do it once in a while. Shiva Ratri. This is the function that was taking place. So they established it, got situated by the river Saraswati. And what they did, it's described also that when you go to a place of pilgrimage, to a holy dham, first thing you do is you offer obeisances to Yamuna or Ganga or Saraswati river, and then you bathe. You bathe in that river, shave up, and then you fast the first day. And that's what the cowherd boys and Nanda Maharaj did, although they drank some water in the evening. And later in the evening, when they were taking rest, they were gathering together by the Saraswati river. What happened is a great snake came, and the snake came over and started swallowing Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj was helpless. He couldn't help himself. So he was screaming, "My dear Krishna, my dear son, please save me from this trouble." And so the cowherd boys were obviously noticed that, and what they did is they ignited the fire of the logs and they started beating that snake, beating hard, but the snake is so big it didn't feel anything. So Krishna appeared, and the first thing he did is he touched the snake with his lotus feet. And then the snake, the great demigod Vidyadhara came from that snake. The snake shaded the body and the demigod came. And Krishna was very surprised to see Vididhara, a demigod. What's going on? Why is that you're in a snake body, in the body of Asura? What happened to you? And so Vididhara explained that in his past life he was a celebrated personality, and he was traveling to many places all over the world in his airplane, and at some point he came across a sage, Agastya Muni, and I think his body was deformed, ill, and he laughed at him. And so Agastya Muni cursed him to become an asura in his next body. It's a wonderful pastime that teaches us that Krishna saves the truth of devotional service, bhakti, from the mouth of asuras, mayavadis, or atheists. And it illustrates how devotees must avoid the company of such snake-like people. And Srila Prabhupada also mentions in the Krishna book that a snake is considered to be the most cruel, envious living entity, although there's also a living entity that is more envious and more cruel than a snake. And would you like to guess who it is? Yeah, it's human beings. Because a snake can be pacified by mantras, right? Or herbs, exactly, or herbs. Mantras or herbs. If you know the technique, the science, you can do that. But a human being, even though you give him herbs and mantras, sometimes the human being resists and does not want to do that, does not want to accept the remedy. So therefore, if we want to become a Harijan, if you want to really experience the benefit, the whole benefit of the pure holy name, we need to take shelter of the Harinam, we need to take shelter of the holy name of Krishna, to such a degree where we become completely surrendered and accept the remedy ourselves, really desire that ourselves. Not just seeing that, yes, the holy name is there and it's given everyone the benedictions, the mercy, kripa, like the rain is pouring all over the grounds, in the water too, in the oceans, I mean. But we need to really take advantage of the holy name. We need to really take up the practice seriously and desire to chant the holy name purely. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave us a wonderful formula. He wanted us to chant in such a way that we are calling for to be accepted by the holy name and to render service. This is our mood when we approach the holy name. We want to serve Krishna. We want to be engaged in service. And if at some point we don't experience, like, we feel troublesome to chant, we feel particular attraction to anything else but the holy name, anything else but Krishna, we should note that attraction, and we should pray to Krishna that let that attraction for the holy name, or let attraction that I experience for a material thing or an object of sense enjoyment, let the same attraction that I'm experiencing for that object be turned to Krishna. That's a really wonderful way to pray sometimes if we feel challenged, if we feel that there's some difficulties in our chanting. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you don't really feel like chanting. You feel like so many things going through the mind. So therefore, yeah, we can take time to pray. We can even stop japa if necessary, to work with the mind, to remind ourselves of the position that we eternal servants, that we asking to be engaged in service, and pray to the acharyas. That's a sure way to receive the mercy and get the blessings if we do that in a humble way. So that's a path of Sharanagati. There are 6 principles. We should accept things that are favorable for devotional practice, reject things that are unfavorable, accept Krishna as the protector, maintainer. We should be very, very humble and completely submissive to the holy name. I'll read the translation one more time of the text 10. Agastya Muni then spoke this curse against the king. This king Indradyumna is not at all gentle. Being low and uneducated, he has insulted a Brahmana. May he therefore enter the region of darkness and receive the dull, dumb body of an elephant. So we spoke about how the curses can be a benediction sometimes, or sometimes they can harm someone who's cursing. especially if it's a great Vaishnava. We should be careful. We spoke about the Vaishnava etiquette, and then further in this chapter we continue to see and to hear how a Vaishnava, he is so tolerant that even if someone is insulting him and cursing him, he's just tolerating that insult and is not affected. He does not retaliate, does not react in any way. So we'll conclude here. Thank you so much for your attention. Would there be any questions or comments to this?
I was just thinking how this theme of the meditation, being meditating on the Lord, but then exalted soul walks by, and you don't give the proper respect because you're in samadhi. I mean, this is a theme, and you get cursed or something like that. And this reminds me of how this. Of course, it wasn't exactly the same thing. It was I forgot his name now. Shringi's father. Yeah, he was meditating, and came. He had been in the forest, and he was tired, and he was thirsty, and it was uncharacteristic. But he felt unrespected because the sage was meditating, and he didn't recognize. He didn't react because he was in samadhi. So I was just thinking how, in this age of Kali, we learn how the actual means of advancement is not this dhyana yoga so much, but Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, Bhakti yoga. And one of the reasons is that you'll be meditating and you'll be in samadhi, but some great sage may come or something may happen and you're not able to react to it properly because it's Kali Yuga and there's so many wild things going on. So that's another reason to not try to take up this Ashtanga yoga. First of all, you have to go alone, to the forest, and it's just not practical. But even if you're successful and you're into a state of samadhi where you're really not here but you're there, this can happen, and then your whole thing can be wrecked. Get cursed by a sage, or someone throws stones at you, or whatever.
Yeah. Besides the fact that it's such a difficult practice on its own, all the limbs of Ashtanga yoga. Besides that, you can be still practicing everything very seriously, but then without even you desiring to do so, some sage might come by, and you in trance, you in samadhi, you're practicing, but because you're not noticing him, you can make an offense without even noticing, without noting it. But another thing I was thinking when you were speaking, saying this, is that if you, in this age of Kali, if you perform Sankirtan Yajna, if a sage or sadhu comes by and he sees that you're performing the Sankirtan, you're distributing books or distributing the holy name, he would offer his obeisances to you that you're doing that. So, and that's easy to say, if you're doing Sankirtan and if you see that sometimes devotees are, or not devotees, but people are envious or happy, so it's an indication whether there's envy or not. If people are happy to see you doing that there's no envy. They're happy. But if there's some envy, they trying to hide, or that's obviously envy on their part. Balaram Prabhu, did you have something?
Hare Krishna. I was just going to ask, Lord Chaitanya says that you need to be as humble as a blade of grass and as tolerant as a tree to chant the holy names freely. What would be your suggestion on how to strengthen or work on humility and tolerance?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, humility. Yeah, humility means that we definitely need to be in touch with the holy name, and also we need to be out of the, you can say, comfort zone. And the best way, of course, the quickest way to do so is to actively engage yourself in the process of Sankirtan Yagya. Not only chanting the holy name by yourself, but also doing that in such a way that you preach the glory of the holy name. You become a preacher, you glorify Srimad Bhagavatam or distribute the Srimad Bhagavatam, or you participate in Harinam. Sankirtan means book distribution now, commonly. Harinam means to go out and give the holy name to the mass of people, those who have never heard the holy name before. So that's a sure way to get the mercy necessary to become humble, to understand what humility is. Of course, we have some understanding what humility is, but in many ways it could be just superficial. I'm just folding my hands and going like this, but am I actually humble when I do this? So the actual humility is I don't remember who said that. I think Srila Prabhupada said that I will never accept someone as a Vaishnava if he didn't go through a lot of suffering, a lot of, maybe not suffering, he didn't say, but difficulties in spiritual life. So therefore we need to go and prove to Krishna and Lord Chaitanya that we're actually serious and we actually want to be humble. Because I can say I want to be humble, I hear it's a good thing, but to be humble, it takes a massive amount of work and dedication, surrender, and like that. But of course, in this stage for me, for example, is if I want to learn how to be more humble, I associate with devotees like Dravida Prabhu, Balaram Prabhu, and all of you, like that. They're always very humorous and humble, so in this way I can learn something from them. Or if I don't have association of good fortune of associating with such wonderful devotees, then I can read on pages of Srimad Bhagavatam pastimes of devotees like Maharaj Parikshit, for example. He's showing humility. He's not accepting the curse, He's tolerant, very tolerant. So there's some ways we can do that. But of course, Srila Prabhupada. The more we hear about Srila Prabhupada, the more we understand that for me, how can I be not humble if Srila Prabhupada has made so many sacrifices to help the world? So, yes, studying the character of Srila Prabhupada and great devotees will help us to understand what is that humility everyone's speaking about.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
It's coming.
Pastime, service I've been doing for so long, there's some really good instruction in there. And this verse, which is so key, this Trinad api sunichena, which he cited in Sanskrit, that's right. Trinad api sunichena torat api sahishnuna. So, if you look at if you're able to access the original, or I think in some versions of the Veda-based, you can see the 78 books, pre-78 books are in there. And you can look at the way the CC was when it first came out in 1975. And the way that verse appeared, and it appears throughout the book, but especially in the text, chapter 20 at the end of the book, Avanjalila. Trinad api sunichena, toror eva sahishnuna. And eva means like, and api means more than. So what that said was to be more tolerant than a blade of glass, and as tolerant as a tree, and to offer respect to others like that. So I had a dilemma there, because it was that way in the book, in the text of the book, but in other places where Prabhupada would quote it, TLC or something like that, it would be Trinad api sunichena tarar api sahishnuna, both apis. So the fact that it was in the text of the CC, I said, well, this is the official text. And so the other places that it appeared in the CC, that was the first revision with Eva. But then, as time went by, I discovered that verse and the whole Shikshastika was not written as an Ashtaka. It was written. It was actually within the Padyabali, which is Rupa Goswami's favorite verses, his nectar file. It's scattered throughout there. It's not anywhere. You know that. And as far as I understood, it was taken from there by Krishna scholars and put in as an ashtaka, at the end, and then explained. So I realized that, it looks like the mistake was in the first printing, which was based on the Gaudiya Math edition, and they're transcribing. And the best part about it was that this was the way that Prabhupada would always say it. When you can hear him in transcription, it's always uppy, 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 uppy. So the real meaning is not as tolerant as a blade of grass and as tolerant as a tree, but more humble than a blade of grass, more humble than a tree, which is quite a challenge. A tree is the emblem of tolerance. It doesn't say anything.
How can you build a tree?
But that was the standard that Lord Chaitanya said. And then, always ready to offer all honor to others and not one honor for oneself. Then one can be blessed by Lord Chaitanya to always be able to chant the holy name. Hare Krishna. So remember, quite a standard. More.
Yeah, standard to aspire for. Yeah, someone else.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I want to add something for that question. That the humble position is also to cooperate with devotees to spread this mission, Srila Prabhupada. But if we do something alone, this is like more humble position when we cooperate together to benefit and sake of this mission, Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. You have to be very gentle and careful. You have to because one thing is to preach to people, because they mostly don't know anything. You can say anything, but another thing is to preach to devotees. That's a science. It requires more qualification to be able to converse with devotees in such a way that it's inspiring and beneficial and cooperative. That requires qualification that I don't have. So I'll just learn from you again. And also the principles of humility, and it's also when we obtain some kind of any realizations, or we learn something, we understand something, we want to pass it on and give it, share this with someone. Otherwise, if we don't share, if we just learn and keep it in ourselves, keep it in our room, then it grows into a false ego, ahankar. So that might become also opposite of a blessing, curse. Balaram Prabhuji, do you want to conclude with something? Vijay Krishna Prabhu, did you have something today to add or ask?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Prabhu.
Do you mind reading again the third sentence of the purport?
Agastya Muni thought it wise to curse the king to become an elephant, because the powerful king did not receive Agastya Muni as one is obliged to receive a brahmana. That's the one?
Yeah, that is the sentence. Thank you very much. You're most kind. Dandavat pranams. Dvijamani Prabhu, if I may ask, based on this quote, my question is, how to receive a brahmana? That is my question.
Well, this is the purport to 10, number 10, 8.4.10. Yeah, the way to receive a brahmana is to offer your respects to a brahmana, offer dandavat. And for example, if you're a brahmana yourself, then you can ask him a philosophical question and begin inquiring about the absolute right away. But maybe if you're not a brahmana, then at least you can offer your obeisances, offer a sitting place, opportunity for service, to serve himself. An opportunity for service means that a brahmana is usually engaged in speaking and inspiring people, educating people. So when you accept the Brahmana, you should always seek an opportunity for him to be engaged in the service. For example, when Srila Prabhupada would travel, he would not go to a place if it's not properly arranged as far as the programs and preaching. So this is how devotees were thinking. If Srila Prabhupada is coming, I should make sure that there's some kind of arrangement, engagement for him to go and speak. The devotees would arrange something at the universities, in the temple, home programs. San Diego, Srila Prabhupada was here, attending home programs when he was here. So yeah, that's the way to properly invite and accept a Brahmana. You should inquire from him if he needs anything. Sometimes you travel, sometimes you need some prasadam, or sometimes you... For example, when Srila Prabhupada in the last days, Madhudvish Prabhu at that time, when he came with Shruti Kirta Prabhu, they lived separately in different places in Hawaii, but they came on the same airplane, seeing each other. They haven't seen each other for a long time, and they saw each other, and they were so happy. They sat next to each other. But because Madhudvish Prabhu, although he left the movement for a while, but he was a really wonderful devotee and did so much service for Srila Prabhupada. And when Srila Prabhupada saw him, the first thing he said, "Did you take prasadam?" He was on his deathbed. I mean, he wasn't eating himself for 6 months, anything. And he said, "Did you take prasadam? Go take prasadam, take a bath, and then come see me." So that's how you should accept or welcome a Brahmana. You should be very, very respectful. Sadhu Lakshanam, that's the behavior. Sadhu Lakshanam. Proper behavior of Vaishnava etiquette, respect, love, in a pleasing, welcoming manner.
Yes, I liked it when you mentioned that it is the moral obligation of the host to create the required environment to inspire the sadhu, the Brahmana, to speak on the absolute truth. Thank you very much. A most intelligent answer to my question. Hare Krishna.
Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
You're welcome.
Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.